Look up at the night sky tonight and try to find a single moment of true, unadulterated stillness. For thousands of years, the stars were the only constant. We had fixed points of light that served as silent sentinels over the slow, agonizing evolution of our species. They represented the infinite, the unreachable, and the ultimate frontier of human wonder. But today, if you watch closely enough, the darkness has begun to crawl. Thin, luminous chains of light move in perfect synchronization across the void, cutting through ancient constellations with mechanical precision. These are not stars, and they are not accidental visitors. They are the components of a growing web, a technological lattice that is slowly encircling our world. We are told this is the dawn of a new era of connectivity, a promise that no corner of the earth will ever be silent again. But as the number of these artificial lights climbs from hundreds into the thousands, a chilling question begins to surface among observers. Are we building a bridge to the future, or are we witnessing the construction of the most sophisticated architecture of containment in human history? The official narrative surrounding this orbital expansion is one of undeniable progress and global philanthropy. The stated goal is as simple as it is noble: to bring high-speed internet to the most remote regions of the planet, to bridge the digital divide that leaves billions behind, and to ensure that information is a universal human right. It is a vision that is difficult to argue against in an age defined by data. To provide this global coverage, the physics of the problem requires a certain number of nodes. Yet, the scale of the current operation is entirely without precedent. While traditional satellite communications have long relied on a handful of large crafts positioned in high geostationary orbits, fixed points far above the atmosphere, this new project utilizes a mega-constellation of thousands of small satellites in low Earth orbit. By 2026, it is estimated that nearly 10,000 of these units will be active. The sheer density of this network is what draws the eye of the skeptic. Some technical analysts point out a curious inconsistency. Why is a literal shell of silicon and metal being deployed to achieve what was once promised with a fraction of the hardware? Consider the fundamental difference between the physics of a network and the physics of a boundary. A network is designed for the transmission of data between ground stations and users, a flickering, transient web of communication. A boundary, however, is designed for management and exclusion. As these satellites settle into their synchronized orbits, they create a persistent electromagnetic presence around the planet. Independent researchers have noted that the radio frequency interference and the sheer volume of electronic emissions from these devices are beginning to interact with the sensitive boundaries of our ionosphere. We are effectively wrapping the Earth in a vibrating skin of man-made radiation. This isn't just about signals, it is about the potential manipulation of the local space environment. If an entity wanted to monitor the planet's surface with total redundancy, this density would be the prerequisite. More importantly, if there were a need to track everything entering or leaving our atmosphere, this electromagnetic barrier would serve as a high-precision detection grid. The centralization of this orbital power is perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the current transition. This is not a collective effort by the United Nations of the world, nor is it subject to the traditional oversight of international bodies or public treaties that governed the early space age. Instead, it is the private venture of a single corporation, driven by the vision of a singular individual. We are witnessing the rapid privatization of the very sky above our heads. In the past, the heavens were considered a global commons, belonging to everyone and no one simultaneously. Now, the orbital paths are being claimed like prime real estate in a digital land grab. When one entity controls the infrastructure of global communication, they don't just control the data, they control the gateway. They become the gatekeepers of the planet itself. This isn't just a matter of digital privacy, it's a matter of planetary sovereignty. If the sky is turned into a proprietary grid, we must eventually ask, who holds the key to the exit? There are voices in the scientific community discussing the integration of these commercial satellite arrays with existing orbital monitoring systems. While government projects like the Space Fence are explicitly designed to track debris and protect assets, the synergy between national tracking and a private global satellite network creates a comprehensive, real-time picture of our orbital environment. Every object, every signal, and eventually every movement on the surface could become part of a singular, interconnected database. The tension lies in the marketing. We are sold a story of convenience and entertainment in the wilderness, the ability to stream video in the heart of the desert, while the infrastructure for a total planetary blockade is being launched week after week. It is a masterclass in transparency, potentially hosting a global defense or containment system in plain sight by labeling it a consumer product. The environmental impact of this expansion extends far beyond the visual pollution of our night sky. Astronomers are already reporting that their view of the deep universe is being photobombed by these passing streaks of light, obscuring our ability to detect distant threats or cosmic origins. But the deeper concern involves a phenomenon known as the Kessler Syndrome. This is a theoretical scenario where the density of objects in low Earth orbit becomes so high that a single collision could trigger a cascade of debris, shattering other satellites and creating a cloud of high-speed shrapnel. While operators argue that their satellites are designed to autonomously deorbit and burn up in the atmosphere to mitigate this risk, the sheer volume makes the probability of a catastrophic collision a statistical reality over time. If such a disaster were to occur, the result would be the same regardless of intent: the Earth would be effectively quarantined. We would be trapped under a ceiling of wreckage, unable to send satellites up or bring travelers home for generations. In this context, the mega-constellation begins to look less like a service and more like a potential lock on a door we didn't know was being closed. Why would such an intricate structure be necessary? This is where the tension between the known and the unknown becomes most acute. If the goal is not merely internet access, what is its primary function? Some suggest it is a defensive measure. A dense enough electromagnetic grid could serve as a detection net for stealth technologies or a functional shield against certain types of energy-based intrusions. Others look inward, suggesting that the barrier is meant to ensure that no unauthorized departures can occur. As we move closer to becoming a spacefaring species, the desire for a centralized authority to regulate who goes where and what they take with them becomes a primary objective for those in positions of power. The technology itself is evolving at a pace that far outstrips regulation. The later generations of these satellites are equipped with inter-satellite laser links, allowing them to communicate with each other in a closed loop without ever touching a ground station. This creates a private internet that exists entirely outside the reach of national jurisdictions or terrestrial laws. It is a sovereign digital territory floating hundreds of miles above our heads. In this realm, data can be processed, filtered, or blocked with total impunity. The conflict arises when we realize that the same technology that brings us freedom of information is simultaneously a potent tool for global censorship. If the grid decides to go dark for a specific region, that region effectively ceases to exist in the modern digital world, cut off by an invisible hand in the stars. The frequency of the launches is frantic, almost as if there is a deadline that the public isn't aware of. Why the rush to fill the sky before the long-term effects on the atmosphere and the orbital environment are fully understood? In the history of large-scale engineering, such haste usually indicates a looming necessity. Whether it is a perceived threat from a geopolitical rival or an awareness of an atmospheric change that requires this electromagnetic grid to be active, the urgency is palpable. We are watching a race to complete a structure before the world realizes what the finished building is actually for. Every launch is a brick, every satellite a sensor, every laser link a bar in the grid. The psychological impact of a managed sky cannot be overstated. For all of human history, looking up provided a sense of infinite possibility and an escape from the mundane struggles of Earth. By gridding the sky, we are subconsciously being told that there is no escape. The frontier is being closed. Even the stars are now branded with corporate serial numbers. This transformation of the heavens from a wilderness into a managed utility is the final step in the total mapping and control of the human environment. We have mapped the continents, the oceans, and the human genome. Now, we are partitioning the void itself. This shift isn't necessarily a result of a malicious conspiracy, it is the quiet transition of power from the many to the few, hidden under the guise of technological inevitability. It is the fundamental conflict between our desire for connection and our need for autonomy. We trade our privacy for speed, and our open sky for signal bars. We are active participants in our own enclosure, cheering every successful launch as another layer of the ceiling is laid above us. We are told the satellites are there to serve us, but in a world where data is the most valuable resource, the satellites are the refineries and we are the soil from which the resources are extracted. As the grid becomes more complete, the anomalies will become harder to ignore. We may see strange auroras caused by the interaction of the satellite's power systems with the magnetosphere. We may find that certain frequencies of communication are subtly interfered with by the constant hum of the overhead web. One day, we may look up and realize that the stars we see are no longer the stars our ancestors saw, but a digital reconstruction, a filtered version of reality beamed down to us by a network that decides what we are allowed to perceive. The sky will no longer be a window to the universe, but a screen displaying a curated version of it. The true nature of this project may not be revealed for decades, but the signs are already there for those who choose to look. It is a dark thriller playing out in real time, written in the language of orbital mechanics and silicon wafers. The risk is not that the technology won't work, but that it will work perfectly. It will create a world where everyone is connected, yet everyone is contained. A world where the horizon is no longer a limit, but a border. As the next train of lights passes over your home, ask yourself, is that a sign of a world opening up, or the sound of a bolt sliding into place? The canopy is being built with our applause, one launch at a time, and the most frightening part is that once the last satellite is in place, we may never be able to see through the bars again. In the end, we must weigh the convenience of a faster world against the cost of a closed one. The sky has always been the symbol of human freedom, the one place where no walls could be built. But as the electromagnetic grid tightens its grip, that freedom becomes a memory. We are entering the age of the invisible ceiling, a time where our greatest technological achievement might also be our most beautiful prison. The satellites are watching, they are listening, and they are waiting. The night sky is no longer a window, it has become a mirror, reflecting back our own ambition and our own fear of the unknown. And in that reflection, the stars are slowly being extinguished, replaced by a cold, flickering grid of our own making. Watch the sky tonight. Watch the lights move. And wonder, just for a moment, if the door is being locked from the inside or the out. As we stand on the precipice of this new reality, the silence of the old world feels increasingly distant. Every new orbit established is a tether not just to the internet, but to a system of total oversight. We are told that connectivity is the ultimate goal, but connectivity requires a constant state of being seen. In a world wrapped in silicon, there is no such thing as being lost. There is no such thing as being off the grid when the grid is the sky itself. The very concept of the wilderness is being erased, replaced by a managed, monitored, and monetized vacuum. This is the ultimate paradox of our time, that in our quest to reach the stars, we may have inadvertently built a wall that keeps them forever out of reach. The question remains, who oversees the observers? When the infrastructure of our global reality is owned by a single entity, the traditional checks and balances of civilization begin to dissolve. We are moving into a post-national era where the most important borders aren't on a map, but in the spectrum of radio waves and laser pulses above our heads. This is the privatization of destiny. If the grid is used to filter information, to track movement, or to suppress dissent, there is no terrestrial court that can intervene. The jurisdiction is the vacuum of space, and the law is written in code that we are not permitted to read. We must also consider the physical reality of these objects. Thousands of satellites, each with a limited lifespan, will eventually fail. While they are designed to burn up, the chemical legacy of thousands of vaporized satellites is a new variable in our climate equation. We are seeding our upper atmosphere with metallic particles, an unintended experiment in geoengineering. Is the promise of instant data worth the potential alteration of our planet's protective layers? We are moving so fast that we haven't stopped to ask if the price of the ticket is higher than the value of the journey. The lights in the sky are a signal. They are a signal that the age of the individual is giving way to the age of the collective, managed by the machine. We are being integrated into a global nervous system, a planetary-scale computer where every human being is a node. While this offers incredible power, it also offers incredible vulnerability. A system that can connect everyone can also disconnect anyone. A system that can see everything can also hide anything. We are building the most powerful tool ever conceived, and we are handing the controls to a ghost in the machine. Tonight, when the sun sets and the first of the artificial stars begins its trek across the zenith, take a moment to remember the darkness that used to be. Remember the time when the sky belonged to no one, and the stars were a mystery that didn't require a subscription. We are the last generation to know an ungridded sky. We are the witnesses to the closing of the frontier. As the lattice grows denser and the electromagnetic shroud thickens, the stars will continue to fade, not because they have gone anywhere, but because we have chosen to live inside a glowing cage. The door is closing, the bolt is sliding, and the lights are moving in perfect, terrifying harmony. The sky is no longer a limit, it is a boundary. And we are on the inside. This shift marks the end of an era where the cosmos was the only thing humans couldn't touch. We have reached out and claimed it, but in doing so, we have brought our limitations with us. The vast, empty space that once inspired awe is being filled with the same noise and data that consume our lives on the ground. We are suffocating the infinite with the finite. If the Kessler Syndrome becomes a reality, our ancestors will look up at a sky of moving shrapnel, a graveyard of our ambition that prevents them from ever leaving the cradle. We will have turned our home into a fortress, and then into a cell. The train of lights is passing by right now. It is silent, it is efficient, and it is indifferent to our wonder. It has a job to do, and it will do it until the sky is no longer yours, but theirs. Watch the horizon. The stars are going out, one satellite at a time. The transition is nearly complete, and as the final nodes lock into place, the question of what we have lost will be silenced by the hum of a world that is always connected, always watching, and never truly free.